What's going on? Just HoopTalk Network. You're with Justin Henry, Will Thompson. And today we are going to be doing a full playoff preview for this 2021 season. It's been interesting so far, obviously with the condensed schedule, with teams kind of resting players at times, playing them. We've seen a lot of injuries this year. We're about 10 games out for a lot of these teams. So very, very interesting setup here. We're going to go over the play-in games, who's going to get in, the seeding, which is especially important in the Western Conference. But before we do, make sure you smash that subscribe button. Appreciate all the love and support. Make sure you subscribe. Chat with us in the comments if you're live with us right now. We'd love to hear your feedback on it. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share the channel with anybody who wants to talk hoop, man. This is the network for it. So let's get into these playoff previews, man. And I want to start off in the Eastern Conference with the lower seeded teams. Let's talk about that 7 through 10, the play-in games. And we're going to see an interesting matchup there, no matter who it is. Right now, currently, the way the standings are, we have a few teams there at the bottom. We've seen the Chicago Bulls slowly creep down out of there, man, with that Zach LaVine injury. But now that leaves the Heat at number 7, the Charlotte Hornets at number 8, Indiana Pacers at number 9, Washington Wizards on a 9-game, 9 out of the last 10 they've won.
Wow.
Coming in there at number 10, we got the Bulls and the Raptors kind of sneaking in there, just staying afloat. The Bulls have come down, and the Raptors are just hanging on by a thread. What's your thoughts on these playing matchups right now, my man?
Yeah, this is interesting, man. I know a lot of people don't like it, and I was kind of thinking about this a little bit. Like, it's made for interesting and important games later in the season that typically aren't there, which I think is a good thing for the NBA. I know, like, a lot of people have been critical of it, and a lot of times it's those teams that are in 7 and 8, right? Those guys are critical of it. Everybody else loves it. Personally, as a fan, I like it when I turn on the TV and I see Bradley Beal and Russ Westbrook going hard because they're playing important games. Like, they're essentially playoff games. They're playing for seeding. So it creates 2 more spots for teams that are trying to fight for their playoff lives. And then there's teams on the verge that are also trying to get to that 10th seed. So it makes for better action towards the end of the year. It discourages some teams from just completely tanking,
I don't know. I get that point. I guess we have more meaningful games right now with 10 games left. There's some teams that are hitting the acceleration button, but I also feel like now it's made for more teams to be involved, if that makes sense. It almost waters down what a playoff spot means, because we got the Golden State Warriors and we got the Wizards now. Now they're playing. They're like, okay, we're however many games under 500, but now we can turn it up because it's serious. It's almost like they were waiting this whole season. And we're seeing guys taking extended leaves like KD and AD. I think they could have came back a little bit sooner had things been a little bit more important. But with the way these games are and with the playing games, it's allowed for a little bit more of like, okay, we don't necessarily need to be a top 8 seed. We just got to be close. It seems like the Sacramento Kings thought they had a chance at getting to the playoffs. And, man, we've seen it's not for everybody. So I don't know. I guess I like the fact that there's meaningful games right now. But what I don't really like is the fact that all the way through the season, I get it was a different, unique season, but all the way through the season, we weren't getting the team's best effort even 3 out of 4 games. It was more like 2 out of 5.
The Wizards are kind of a good example, right? Just played awful throughout the entire season. And because of this, special circumstances, they're now able to sneak into the playoffs. Even though they've played terrible throughout the whole season. But at the same time, like, I want to see a guy like Russ and a guy like Bradley Beal in that postseason. So you're right, man. There is some good and some bad to it. I want to talk about something that's interesting that I was kind of thinking about. So early in the season, we were talking about potential bubble for the playoffs again, but that's not going to happen. Looks like teams are going to be in their home arenas, which is cool because we were talking earlier on in the season about maybe seeding not necessarily mattering. If they're all in a bubble, it doesn't really make a difference, but now it definitely matters. And I think another thing that's interesting too is each team that are in different states have different rules about fans coming into the stadium. So here in California, you know, the Kings just played, and I think they had 2,000 fans or something like that.
Yeah.
But down in New Orleans, they got damn near a full arena, you know?
Yep.
So that's interesting, man, to think like you're in a playoff series and, you know, the home team, the Lakers, for example, are going home to a pretty much empty gym.
Right.
While some of the other arenas are going to be like, it's going to be a playoff atmosphere, you know?
That's a really good point, man, because I think a lot of teams probably didn't care about seeding, and now that things are starting to relax and open up here, so there are some fans, there are some teams of those fans that are going to be rocking, man. They're going to be in there and making some noise, especially for the first how many games in what, over a year now that they've been able to attend. True. So they're going to be rocking, especially in the playoff atmosphere, and I think that we'll get back some of that too. Some of what we were missing last year with like a Luka game winner or a Bam block, those crazy moments where you just see the fans go wild.
Right.
Excited to see that too. And, you know, you start to think about those teams, those 7 through 10s, and it's like that will matter now. So when, you know, Boston and you know, the Wizards are playing, it's like, okay, now we're in Boston, so we're going to get a little bit more of a different type of matchup. Or if you're watching, you know, somewhere else, even the Lakers, you know, kind of falling down in the standings, it's like now that's a little bit more important, whereas it may not have been. But looking at these 7 through 10 teams, you think that they stick that the way that they are right now? The Heat and the Celtics are tied at number 6. So the Heat right now, by default, are at number 7.
Yeah.
Who do you see taking that 7th spot? The Celtics or the Heat?
It's tough, man. It's hard to get a read on the Celtics right now. It's hard to get a read on both of these teams. It seems like Jimmy Butler's been in and out of the lineup, and so has Tatum, which has made it like hard to really get a good feel for these teams. The Celtics have looked good at times, and they've looked absolutely terrible. Them losing to the Oklahoma City Thunder the other day was really bad, man. The Thunder are like actively trying to lose games right now. And so to lose to that team, I mean, Tatum's out, but they got like a bunch of young dudes out there. It's crazy, just the inconsistencies that we've seen. I was thinking about the Celtics the other day, and I feel like there's a little bit of playoff or like a little bit of fatigue involved with the Celtics. Is kind of the sense that I get, like the sense that like it doesn't matter, you know. I mean, we'll turn it on when we've been to the Eastern Conference Finals every year now. Like it doesn't matter. We'll turn it on when we need to turn it on. And
I kind of feel like that for both teams, like the Heat and the Celtics. It almost seems like they're coasting, man. Like, and they're also dealing with injuries. They're also dealing with everything else. Is kind of like, all right, we're not really ready until we get into the playoffs, which is a culmination of the season. I feel like there's a lot of teams doing that right now.
That's true.
If I had to pick one, though, there's one that seems a little bit more like ready. I feel like the Heat just a little bit more structured, but they've also had their talent there the whole time. Like the Celtics just got Evan Fournier, just let Robert Williams kind of off the leash. They're getting Tristan Thompson back healthy. Marcus Smart's now back playing. Kemba Walker is at least healthy-ish. Like he's been able to play a few games. And I think Tatum's finally starting to get over the COVID stuff. Like they're the team that seems like they could make a push, whereas the Heat, I feel like they've had pretty much their whole team the whole time. Yeah. And they just haven't been – I think they might be having that what do they call it when you don't make it the second year? Forget the term of it right now anyway. Sophomore slump or honeymoon, whatever, the hangover. But they just don't seem like they have it right now. I feel like they come for certain games and then other times they don't. So we'll see what Heat team comes out of this. And I think the fact that they got Oladipo and he hasn't been able to give them anything yet is a telltale sign of where this season's going for the Heat. Looking at the top of the standings, obviously we got the Nets and the Sixers at the top, one game apiece. I think that's a pivotal thing to get for both of those teams. I feel like they both need Philly probably more so than the Nets needs home court. And you got the Bucks, the Knicks in 4th.
Yeah.
Man, that's crazy. Crazy the conversation we had from earlier in the season. We were talking about who had the better setup between them and the Kings. Man, that went 2 totally different ways.
Man.
And then we got the Hawks at 5. They're a game above the Celtics, but I feel like if Trae Young can get back on the court, I feel like they're going to stay there. So really we're looking at the Nets and the Sixers. I like the Sixers to get that spot. So maybe let's do this. Let's run down who you got. 10 through 1.
10
through 1. Are you ready for that or no?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, 10 through 1. Who you got?
So it's going to be interesting. So number 10, I have the Raptors.
Oh, you got the Raptors? Who's taking their spot? Or whose spot are they taking?
The Pacers.
The Pacers. Oh, that's tough, man, because the Pacers with the injuries.
Yeah.
I can see it because Sabonis is out. Miles Turner's been out. That's going to be tough, man. They're only up a few games on them, 3.5 games on them. So I can see that happening.
Yeah, the Raptors are 6-4 in their last 10. The Pacers are 5-5. So the Raptors playing better basketball overall right now.
Yeah.
I feel like Kyle Lowry has that next gear that he can switch on, and I think they'll make it into the 10 seed. So we'll go Wizards 9, Hornets 8, Heat 7, Celtics 6. I think the Knicks will be 5th.
Ooh, okay.
I think the Hawks are kind of like trending at the right time, man, when they can get Trey back. So I'm going with the Hawks at 4, the Bucks, the Nets, and the Sixers.
Oh, okay.
I think it means more to the Sixers, man. I really do. The Nets seem like if they decide they want to sit KD, they'll sit KD. You just don't know what to expect from them. It doesn't seem like it's important to them. It seems like they're just like they don't even know what their spot is in the standings. They're just like, oh, we'll sit this dude. Oh, we'll play this dude. Like, I don't know if they even care, bro, honestly.
Nonchalant still at the top of the Eastern standings, which is crazy to think about. Like, these guys are just not – they don't even play all their games together. They played, like, I think it was 7 or 9 games total together. Yeah. And to be at the top of the standings still crazy to me.
Wow, man.
Yeah. All right, so you got – I like your 10. For number 10, I got the Pacers falling down to the 10 spot. I don't think that the Raptors are able to make that push. I think they'll try.
It'll be
with
close.
10 games left, it's kind of tough. They have the right cast to do it. But they haven't played a lot of time together lately either. True. Kyle Lowry has been hurt off and on. We have Van Vliet, who was in and out of the lineup. Siakam we've seen him kind of mental-wise be at the top and bottom. OG Anunoby, he's been in and out the lineup. Yeah. I think Chris Boucher is out the lineup right now, so they got a tough uphill battle. But I like them. I like the Wizards at number 9.
Okay.
Sorry, I like the Wizards to pass both the Pacers and the Hornets. Unless LaMelo Ball comes back within this next week, I think that the Hornets will continue to tank. I think it's tough when you don't have your top 2 players, LaMelo Ball, Gordon Hayward, both out. That's a tough ask. And then number 7, I think the Celtics are going to end up dropping down a little bit. I think that they probably are the team to get the 6, but I think that they will drop down just with the amount of time left and the way that I think that the Heat will turn it up. That's where I got them. And obviously at the Heat, number 6. Number 5, we're going to rock with the Hawks. Number 4, the Knicks to me locked in that spot.
Yeah.
Number 3, I think the Bucks are locked in that spot. And then I also think that the Sixers care a lot more about the number 1 seed than the Brooklyn Nets do. And I think that when James Harden, while he's still on the shelf, I think the Sixers are just now starting to get healthy again. This is going to be a good series there. I think that the bracket buster for that conference, the bracket buster will be if the Wizards end up playing like the Nets or the Sixers.
Yeah.
If they get in there, they might cause some noise because that's the team that with Westbrook and Beal, you don't know what you're going to get out of them. Like if they're hot, that's a tough ass team to beat.
Yeah. That'll be – I would like to see Russ and KD in the playoffs.
Yeah.
That would be wild.
Yeah, especially because KD's had a little bit to say over the last couple months about some of his best teammates.
Or something like that.
Yeah, and he's always thrown little jabs at like, oh, I actually got people that can close the game with me. Or I got people that can play basketball with me now. It's like throwing them little jabs out there. But, hey, I got love for KD, man. I want to see him in the playoff. Yep. I think this will be an exciting thing for him because we've seen him close. And even though he's still got a nice solid cast around him, I feel like this is a chance for him to be like, look, I know you guys already crowned LeBron as the best in the game. You're crowning Steph as the best in the game right now. You're going to give MVP to Joker, but it's me. I'm still KD. I feel like this would be a dope time for him to show that.
Do you think the number 1 spot means more to the Sixers as far as like their potential for the season?
I think that they need that to validate this season more so than Brooklyn does. I think that the Sixers need that kind of confidence heading into the playoffs because if they have to go into a number 2 seed, you're not the best team anymore.
Right.
It's almost like you have that stigma around you. Like, hey, we're the best team. We're supposed to be here.
Right.
We're supposed to win the Eastern Conference. And if you can't beat the Nets to the number 1 spot, who have been missing Kyrie for weeks at a time, KD for extended period of time, and now Harden. To me, I'm looking like they are probably the best team. So I think for mental, I think you got to go with the Sixers. What about you? How you feeling about that?
Yeah, I think you're right, man. I think we've kind of seen that before, them coming in at the 2 or the 3 seed. We've kind of seen that before from them, and they don't seem to react well to that. Maybe putting a little pressure on themselves, creating a little bit of urgency, being that number 1 seed, putting the target on their back, them taking it personal.
Yes.
That'll help them kind of take it to the next level. I want to see it, man. I want to see them be the top dogs and run the table potentially, because we've seen the alternative, right?
We have.
They fail us every time. So maybe putting them in the number 1 spot and making them really own it maybe that'll turn something on, flip a switch in those guys' heads, and we'll see a great run from them.
So speaking of teams that we're used to seeing in the number 1 spot or seeing in different spots, we're used to seeing this Golden State Warriors team at the top. And now we see them fighting for one of these 7 through 10 seeds in the West. Let's move on to the Western Conference. And just by the nature of how many games are left, I think we can eliminate the 5 teams that aren't in. You're talking Pelicans, Kings, Thunder, Timberwolves, and Rockets. Those are all teams that are either tanking or heading to the youth movement. Yep. We're not going to spend an extended period of time on them, except for having to let you know that the Kings got blown out by 50 tonight. Woo! So that's what we'll mic drop on the Kings.
Jeez. Rock bottom, bro. This is rock bottom.
The 7 through 10 is going to be interesting. We still got the Mavs heading that 6th spot, but they look like they're on the ascending pattern. They're playing really good basketball lately. So I don't think that they'll drop down, but we have seen the Trailblazers kind of drop down into that 7 to 10 spot. What's your thoughts on just the way that the Mavericks and Trailblazers have been almost switching spots? Because the Blazers to me seemed like a lock early on. Right. The Mavs seemed like they were locked for the 7 to 10, and it's just like Luka and the Mavs have taken it to a different gear.
Yeah, it's kind of disappointing for the Trailblazers because I think a lot of people had high hopes for them, and they've been healthy. We kept hearing like, wait till Nurk gets back, wait till they get their guys back, wait till they get the full squad, and now the full squad's here, and it's just not coming together like I think they kind of hoped or thought it would.
Right.
But I mean, it's the regular season. We've seen a lot of teams just kind of going through the motions. So they could make a big run in the playoffs. Honestly, you just don't know. They got guys who have proven to step up.
Well, Dame time, obviously. That's what they're banking on. They're banking on Dame time. And CJ was playing really well. CJ McCollum was playing really well at the beginning of the season too. And it sucks that we didn't get to see them kind of go through the season together. But I think they're trying to gel. They have some additional pieces. Cancer's been playing really well. So it's like now he has to take a step back and let Nurk do his thing. Carmelo was playing at a really high level when CJ was gone. It's like, okay, now he has to play back into his role. Yep. They just moved Gary Trent Jr. and got Norman Powell. And now he's another weapon. And so it's like I think they still all got to figure out where do we fit in this puzzle. Right. Anthony Simons is sitting on the bench waiting to explode 9 threes the other day. Crazy. He was 9 for 9 at one point. It's like he's a bench player for this team. So I think it's a very talented group. But we have to see them in their roles for an extended period of time. And I think that's where the Trailblazers are figuring this out right now. I could see them still taking the 6th seed. We'll go over that in a minute. The last 3 teams, Grizzlies, Spurs, Warriors, all within a half game of each other. And to me, this seems like the right opportunity for the Warriors to take the leap, to kind of own, hey, we are the playoff team. We are the better team. But they don't seem like they really are taking it to that level. What's your thoughts on Grizzlies, Spurs, Warriors right now and the way that the Warriors are kind of just hanging around in that 10 seed?
Right. The Warriors are they're confusing, man, because sometimes they look great. And I think a lot of it's just like there's so much on Steph, man, every single night to come out and just be amazing and be incredible. And when he comes out and he's not amazing and he's just normal or he's just they look terrible, man. We just saw him the other night just get absolutely blown out by the Mavs. If Steph's not going off, it shuts everything down, man. It makes all the other guys just like regular guys who can't even. I mean, they struggle getting shots off without the attention from Steph. So, when they look good, when he's doing his thing, they look good. They look tough to beat. When teams kind of key in on Steph and make things difficult for him, it shuts the whole thing down.
Well, we talked about it. Like, he has to drop 35 to 40 a game for this team to be competitive, just to be competitive in the fourth quarter. And it's like, is that sustainable for a playoff run? Is that even sustainable right now to get to that 7-10 spot?
Yeah.
From the 10 spot to the 7 spot, like, to me, that seems like a lot. That's really a lot to ask of Steph. And I'm not sure that for 10 more straight games, like, he went on that run and was hot, scorching.
Yeah.
And just to see regular Steph, I feel like that's still a 5-5, 4-6 type finish to the season. And with the Grizzlies and the Spurs, like the Grizzlies, Jaren Jackson Jr. just came back. They're getting healthy. I'm not sure about the Spurs. I feel like they're just destined for 9-10. But I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how it all lines up 7 through 10. If I had to go with my gut right now, I would think that the Warriors would move up to the 7 or the 8 spot. Still might be tough, though, man. And I don't know. We talked about the Mavs really making a push. The Clippers, Nuggets, Suns have all kind of given themselves a little bit more space now that the Lakers have dropped down.
Yeah.
Is there any chance you think that the Lakers, without LeBron for another week or so, AD just got back, they just got Drummond, any chance the Lakers slip down another spot, or do you think that really impacts their matchups?
That's what I have on my notes here, man. I have the Lakers. They are, I mean, they're in danger, man, of falling to potentially the 7th spot. They're 2 games out of 7, which is crazy to think. But they're another team, man, that just like they rely heavily on now it's Anthony Davis. If he's not playing well, if he's not at, MVP level, they're just a regular team, man. When he plays well, they look good. Like Drummond looks good. Shorter looks good. All the other guys look great, but if he's not great, it doesn't look great for them. It really just kind of depends on when LeBron does come back, to me.
The key to it all.
Yeah, if he doesn't come back soon, I mean, there's legit potential. They're 4-6 in their last 10. Luckily, the Trailblazers are playing terrible. They're 3-7 in their last 10. But if not for that, dude, they have the potential to fall down to 7.
Well, and the Lakers, the one thing that the people aren't realizing about the Lakers is that before LeBron gets back, their schedule, I mean, even when he gets back, their schedule is kind of tough. So Lakers, obviously, they're probably going to win on Friday, play your Sacramento Kings. Yeah, I mean, that might be a gimme. Even if AD sat out, that's probably a Kings L.
We know the Kings are shooting for the 11th spot, bro, every year. So they might come out and ball, bro.
The best of the worst, always. The Kings.
Exactly.
Then they got the Raptors on Sunday, which will be a hard-fought game because you know that the Raptors are still trying to play to get in. Then they got the Nuggets, the Clippers, the Blazers, the Suns, the Knicks.
Damn.
That's like 6 games right there. That's tough. That's 3-3, 2-4 type games if LeBron's not back. Then they finish the season with the Rockets, Pacers, and Pelicans, which should be a three games that they should win. But that's a tough little stretch there to go against basically the cream of the crop there in the Western and Eastern Conference. I could see a little slip, man. I would hate to see it. But LeBron's got to be superhuman when he gets back.
Yeah, I think that's interesting that you brought that up because I'm sure LeBron is probably eyeing those last 3 or 4 games. It's like, all right, that looks cool. I might slide in right at that time, win a couple games, go a little winning streak going into the playoffs. That's tough because all those teams that you mentioned are fighting for positioning and fighting for a spot right now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's no guarantee win on that schedule at all for them, especially the way they're playing.
Yeah. I almost feel like they'd want to match up against the Nuggets, not the Clippers. Like, I don't think they want to see the Clippers as is right now.
Yeah, no.
But I think they'd want to match up against the Nuggets who are a little depleted. They don't have Jamal Murray, don't have Will Barton. It's like, that might be a team now because they already matched up with them last year in the playoffs and beat them. But that team doesn't seem as dangerous as it did a couple weeks ago when Jamal Murray and Will Barton were still healthy. If I was them, I'd want to avoid playing the Suns or the Clippers in that first round.
I agree, man. Take advantage of the Nuggets. They're a little bit of a soft spot there at the 4 seed.
You think the top 4 matters right now, seeding-wise? Jazz, Suns, Clippers. Well, top 3, I should say. Nuggets matter, but Jazz, Suns, Clippers. Those are the top 3 teams right now. And you mentioned the home court aspect when we were talking Eastern Conference seeds. Right now, they're all separated by 3 games. Do you think that really matters to any of these teams? The Jazz, the Suns, or the Clippers, the seeding matters to these guys, or you're like, you know what? We're the top 3 teams. We're going to get in and probably play a tough opponent anyway.
I think if anybody, it matters to the Jazz the most. I think kind of for the same reason that we talked about with the Sixers. Like the Jazz they've been at the top seed this whole time, but everybody's kind of looking at them like, are they for real though? Like, are the Jazz?
I know, I'm still doubting them.
Yeah, so I think maybe for themselves, maybe for their own psyche or their own confidence to come in as the number 1 seed and be that top team. I feel like Chris Paul will have the Suns ready. Like, he's mentally focused, locked in. He's going to have those guys locked in. Doesn't really matter what seed they are. The Clippers, like, I mean, who knows?
They're locked in.
Yeah, like, as long as Kawhi shows up, it's going to, you're going to get what you're going to get from those guys. I feel like it means more if the Jazz were to be the number 1 seed this entire time, and then the last couple games to lose it and drop down to 2 or potentially 3, I think that's a huge hit for them, man. That would really hurt.
Yeah, especially if it changes who they play. Says facts. And Abigail, thanks for the comment. Says facts. The Jazz need home court advantage. The Lakers could care less. And that's 100% true. The Lakers, they just want to get healthy. At the end of the day, they care more about getting healthy. I think that's the same with the Clippers. It's just, hey, let's just get healthy. I think Denver is who they are. The Suns are who they are.
Yep.
But the Jazz, it's like they got to ride high. They got to ride the momentum. They want to finish the season. Like they've been number 1, like you said, all year. They got to close it out. And I feel like the Jazz, to me, are the team that would be like, hey, if we face the Mavericks, the Lakers, like you don't want to face that team. You want to face whoever's coming out that 7, 8, whether it's the Blazers, the Warriors, the Grizzlies, the Spurs. Like the Jazz need to secure that more than any other team. Good point, Abigail. Appreciate the comment. But yeah, that's, to me, it just feels like if they don't get that number 1 seed, that they might be another first round exit away.
Right.
Like straight up, they look to me like a first round exit if their cards don't align the way that they need to. If they're not playing teams when, you know what I'm saying, they're not at their full strength. They're not playing teams like, I don't see the Jazz winning a 7-game series right now against the Lakers. Even if LeBron's healthy, I don't see that.
Yeah,
I don't see them winning a 7-game series against the Trailblazers as is right now. 7 games with Dame and CJ? I don't know, man. How you feeling about this Jazz team? Because that's a big question mark too. Everybody's been saying that, this team, we don't know about this team. Yeah, they're good regular season, but are they legit championship material? What are your thoughts on this Jazz team?
I think that's a great point, man. If they drop down to the 3 seed or even the 2, they become a soft spot, right?
Yeah.
They become a team that teams are targeting. Like, yeah, hey, man, like if I have to choose between the Suns and the Clippers, I'm taking the Jazz. Suns, Jazz, and Clippers, I'm taking the Jazz.
Mike Conley just went down. Donovan Mitchell is still out. Like, man, this team is looking a little more shaky, and that's unfortunately this season, this condensed season, this extended season, that's kind of what's done it.
Right. It's going to be interesting. If they drop down to the 3 seed and they match up with Luka and the Mavs, and you give Luka smell, that he's the type of dude. He smells blood in the water. He's going to go in for the kill, man. Like we saw that last year. He's a killer, and I definitely think he wants to make an impact on the playoffs. So we got a comment.
Yes, Abigail's back. She said, Blazers are a stretch, but yeah, I don't see the Jazz going past the second round.
Bro, I don't know, man. The Blazers, you put Dame.
I'm saying this team is they're playing bad right now, but Dame has not been Dame this last 10, 15 games. He's been a little off. But getting back CJ, getting back Nurk, you get a guy like Norman Powell who has championship experience. Like, you're starting to get pieces in there that really fit. I think this team is better than the Jazz. I think the Jazz are just playing at a higher level right now. But I think the Blazers, on paper, if you gave me 7 games and I had to pick one of them to win 4 times, I'm not going to pick the Jazz. I pick the Blazers each time.
The Blazers are the type of team, they're looking and they're hoping for a team to catch somebody slipping or catch somebody sliding, right? Like they have the type of players like a Damian Lillard who are just killers, man. They're waiting for you to be on a downslide or a downturn to come.
It's really the same thing as last year in the bubble. Remember when they were the 8th seed and everybody was looking at the Lakers? That was like, oh, that's the series that the Lakers can lose. And it's like the Blazers aren't no joke. And I think if the Lakers were a little bit weaker of a team, there was a strong possibility that the Blazers could have took that series. But I don't know. It's a good point, though, Abigail. I think that, the Jazz are not the team that everybody thinks they are. Obviously, they're playing well this season, this COVID season. But I want to see how these matchups should shake out. So let's go through this 10 through 1, same way we did in the Eastern Conference. Yeah. Let's go 10 through 1 and rank the teams.
All right, you want me to go?
Go right ahead.
I got 10 Spurs. Number 9, I think the Warriors will jump up on them a little bit. Hopefully Steph can turn it up. So I got the Warriors at 9. Grizzlies at 8. Mavericks at 7.
Ooh, okay.
Trailblazers jumping up to 6. I think the Lakers will stay at 5. Nuggets and Clippers.
Ooh.
Suns and Jazz. I think the Jazz.
All right. So you got the Jazz finishing what they're supposed to do.
I think they'll stay, yeah.
All right. Okay. I can't be mad at it. For a 10 spot, I think that the Spurs drop down to 10. I think the Spurs they're just lucky that nobody else is closer right now. Yes. They just lost Derek White, too, I think, for the rest of the season. So that's a tough ask for a team like that already to lose one of their young stars to an injury. I think that's tough. I think the Warriors push past them and get to the number 9 spot. I think that the Grizzlies they could be in the 9th spot, but I think that it doesn't matter because I think that the Grizzlies and the Warriors are going to play each other anyway. So I'm going to put the Warriors at 9, Grizz at 8. The 7th seed, I got the Lakers. I think that the Lakers, the Lakers drop down unless Bron comes back within these next 3 to 4 games. That's a tough stretch to ask for any team to win 3 to 5 games. Like, that's tough when you're facing, Nuggets, Suns, Clippers. Like, that's tough, man. So the Lakers just not being at full strength with Bron having to get up to speed, probably on a minutes restriction early on. I think we'll see them slide down a little bit, especially because the Mavs and the Trailblazers are both playing at a really high level right now. So, the Trailblazers have been losing some games, but I think that they'll turn it on. Yeah. At 6, I got the Trailblazers. At 5, I got the Mavericks. 4, I think the Nuggets are locked and loaded at the 4 position. I think they would love to be higher. Just depends on the matchup. At 3, obviously, I got the Clippers. But I do think that the Suns are going to take over this number 1 seed. I think that the Jazz, we're going to see them falter a little bit down the stretch. If Donovan Mitchell, if Conley's out for an extended period of time, I could see the Jazz moving down to that number 2 spot. And so that would leave the matchups, man. To me, the most interesting matchup there would probably be that Lakers Jazz matchup. If the Lakers go ahead and handle business, like a Lakers Jazz matchup in the first round, I think that spells doom for the Jazz, but
that's favorable for the Lakers for sure, man.
I think a lot of teams are looking at the Jazz, the team that they want to play. The Jazz and the Nuggets right now, I think, are the most vulnerable out of the top 5 seeds. Let us know your guys' thoughts in the comments. What do you guys think about our West rankings? If you had to pick a play-in winner right now, that's out of the 2 that you mentioned, you had the Spurs, Grizzlies, Warriors, and Mavericks. Who do you got as your play-in winners?
You said with the Lakers in it?
No, because you have the Mavericks.
In mine.
Yeah, Mavericks, Grizzlies, Spurs, Warriors were in there. Who'd you have winning?
I think probably the Mavs and the Grizzlies. I don't see enough from the Spurs.
Yeah.
I can't see Steph. Like, I think it's too easy to slow down Steph a little bit. And all you have to do is slow him down a little bit, and they don't have much else to go to. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's really important for the Warriors to get that seed above, so they're not having to win 2 to get in. I think it's super important for a team like them because Steph goes cold for 1 game. That's the end of their season.
Yep.
So
crazy, dude.
Well, that's it for our playoff preview. We've gone over all the teams. Let us know your guys' thoughts in the comments. Be sure to like and subscribe. It helps us. It helps the channel. Helps us provide more content your way. We got some awesome shows on the way for you. As always, check out the Box Out on Thursdays. Yes. And if you guys have anything else for us, let us know in the comments. Just HoopTalk, another edition in the books.
Sure.
We're out.
Peace.